particular to raise the standard of communication and to spread the word more widely. First of all, a word about me. I've worked in the cider industry since 1965. I started as a bottle washer at Taunton Cider, became a cider maker, then moved into the commercial side and then into general management, and when they finally found me out, I managed to scrape into NACM to help them with various policy matters which were becoming particularly important at that time, the early 90s. Right, I service, as they say these days, the Pomology Committee, which many of you will know, be aware of and form part of. I say straight away, I know, even though I was a cider maker for many years, I know very little about orcharding practically, something of the science and something of the what you could read in the textbook, but everyone here, I'm sure, knows a tremendous amount more than I do. So I'm the sort of cynical idiot that says why, asks the question why, in the hope of getting an explanation that we can pass on. I will say that Emily has blown up my contribution far beyond what it deserves. I am no expert on the HDC, we have one here anyway, and I hope that Nigel will correct me again if I say anything out of turn. Well, perhaps I should start by saying why are we interested in this? The matter is that research in the UK these days, and I say that Northern Ireland can be outside this in certain instances, so let's just talk about Great Britain really, and where we're concerned, England, Wales, and southwest England, eastern England as well perhaps. Research for many years now has in principle been funded by those that benefit from it, and this started way back in the 80s, and the principles become more and more embedded. There are more and more reasons why the cost should be put on the person who does benefit, and that is a fundamental case that we have to live with. NACM has really stood behind, well, its members primarily, first of all Bulmers of course, then what was in those days Coates, Gamers and Whiteway and Taunton Cider, all were planting orchards in the early 70s, and I can remember that going on as we were gearing up to take the resulting fruit in, and blow me down, it's really worked very well because we were planning on 10 tonnes to the acre for cider apples, mainly bittersweet, and I think the orchards are still going strong 10 or 20 years beyond their expected life, which was 30 years, and delivering 30 tonnes to the acre on some occasions very favourably, so a resounding success, and one we're all very pleased to see. NACM members are primarily cider makers, but they also are growers, and Bulmer and what is now Magners, the former Coke Gamer Whiteway company in Shepton Mallet, are perhaps the ones with the largest holdings. I don't know enough about that, and neither should I, so draw your own conclusions. But there's a practical interest on both counts. One is to make sure that orcharding succeeds, so we try and make more cider to use up more apples. The other is to make sure that it's done sustainably, and we have a Sustainable Futures Committee to try and improve the sustainable aspect of that, and we also want to do it to deliver best value. First person that must benefit, of course, is the grower, and the cider maker then can be certain of, that there will be enough apples to, for really what is the only purpose of a cider apple, that is for turning into cider. And it may be for that reason that to cut a long story short, when I have to get this right because I sometimes call it the ADHB order, but it's not. It's the Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board Order 2008 was set up, which took the Horticultural Development Company under its wing, and Horticulture Development Company is there to collect a levy, to pay for the research and other things that are of benefit to the horticulturalist. Of course, that covers a lot more than apples and pears, and certainly it does not at the moment cover cider apples and perry pears. They, along with hops and grapes, are specifically excluded from the scope of the levy and from sharing in the benefits that the HDC will provide, and it does a lot of research of great value. That's not to say that you can't join it if you want to, that's open to you, but there is a proposal coming up now that we understand would take cider apples and perry pears into the levy scheme, so that every grower above a certain size would be expected to pay into the levy and then get the benefit of the research. I don't know what's happening about hops and grapes. Presumably they are going to continue as they are. Along with that, going into the levy scheme is, as we understand, another proposal to lower the threshold at which a grower would be taken in. At the moment, if your adjusted sales value is £60,000 a year or more, then you have to pay the levy at the rate of 0.5% of your adjusted sales value. So only the larger growers tend to be caught by that. And of course, you've got to be growing non-cider varieties. Any eating table culinary apple would draw you into it. And also, if you have a nursery, you also get caught, I think, John. So the proposal, as we understand it, is to say, okay, let's change the system of levy and at the same time draw cider apples and perry pears into this scheme by reducing the threshold and turning it into a planted area measure. We understand it'll be, acreage is so much easier to say, but of course it'll be hectares. 5 hectares, I think, is the thinking.
Everything is up for grabs. It's a consultation period at the moment, so everything is up for grabs.
Okay, well, I'm just going from you know, what I can pick up on the grapevine and trying to assess the situation, because basically the growing community is going to be faced with a decision, if indeed they're allowed to make the decision. Do I join this? Don't I join it? What is the benefit to me if cider apples and perry pears are included, and what might the drawbacks be? The first drawback is that you're going to have to pay a levy if you go into it. The second one, perhaps, is that it seems to us to be rather a one-way street, because once the order that regulates this matter, and it's a technical order established through DEFRA, once that has been altered to take cider apples and perry pears in, it'll be difficult to move out again if the experience is not as we hope. So we need to be very careful. And NACM, as the coming together of, I think I can call it that, the cider community, so that's growers and cider makers, has set out to assess this matter so that we hopefully can advise you on our view of it, which you can take or reject, and we see where it goes from there. A word about timing. As we understand it, the order will run out of date in 2013, so it has to be adjusted, renewed, and that's through the auspices of the Agriculture Minister, Jim Pace. And that is the opportunity to change it, to change the system and so on. There will be other changes, I'm told, in the area of red meat and some dairy areas as well, but I don't know anything about those, so please don't ask me. So what is NACM doing? We're collecting information. We're making what we believe will be a clear and as far as it can be, balanced and independent assessment. We would then inform growers, and hopefully you will feel interested enough to supply us with the information we're asking for. We're trying to be as non-intrusive as possible about this, so that we can then present a case first to the HDC, because we have made contact and have a meeting set for the 3rd of September, and later, as may be necessary, with the Minister in the consultation process, because to change a thing like an order, which is tertiary legislation, it has to go through a proper parliamentary process, even though it may not get debated on the floor of the House. So that's where we're at the moment. Some of you perhaps have already seen a questionnaire that leaked out. It shouldn't have gone out because it was only a draft. So that was our mistake, and I apologise if you've been troubled in that way. But some people have kindly returned that draft. It's being updated even as well, no, it's not being updated even as I speak, because I'm the one that's updating it right here instead. So what we're trying to do is to get a statement of what it's all about, so that hopefully you can say, I like that idea, or I would sign up for it, or I object to that idea, and if you can, give us some reasons so that we can make an assessment, yes, agreeably from the cider industry's point of view, but